Hello there, and welcome to another exciting episode of Dead Reflections Podcast. This is episode 35, and we are your hosts,
Caleb.
My name's Colby.
And I'm your boy Josh, aka Drifter Voyages. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are. New episodes every Friday. Our goal here is to give someone at the table the chills, and if we're lucky, we might even send those spooks along to you.
Some familiar with failure show updates. The Sunday, October 9th, West Texas Fear Fest, Rolling Sevens Ranch in Odessa, Texas. We'll be on the outdoor stage with our boys in Brightburn with No Fear and Insides starting at 7:30. Next Thursday, October 13th, Never Rest EP release show at the Ballroom in Austin, Texas with Never Rest, of course, Koenigsor, Mothman, Designs, and The Venice. The following Friday, October 14th, we'll be in Harker Heights at Game Day Sports Bar for IXI Fest with Astrixian, Everyone Dies in Utah, Rain, Beyond the Dead, and Psychopact. Shows are always subject to change, but come throw your weenuses and pick up a CD or T-shirt. Speaking of merch, what you got on your bodies?
A little jarred from weenuses.
Did the weenuses throw you off?
I wasn't ready for that. It's Spooky Month. I got one of my favorite spooky-esque movie shirts on. It's Ghostbusters, the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Isn't that like
Man.
one of your like favorite?
One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Goat Busters.
Mhm,
Godbusters.
Godbusters.
Strange.
Gobble-goo.
Gobble-goo.
What you got, Josh?
I'm repping Living Hollow this episode.
I think that was the shirt I had on last episode.
Yeah, the exact one.
Because you had to buy the same fucking design. God damn it,
Well,
you bitch.
The other ones were cool, but I wanted this one. I'm sorry.
I'm rocking the Ghost Inside. Yeah.
And some Vice.
Yeah. Vice on the hat.
Vice, is that golf?
Yeah.
Is it like golf? Like,
We golf.
is it balls?
It involves them.
It involves a lot of balls. Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
What are we talking about today, boys, other than golf balls?
Sublime.
Ooh.
You can do it.
Subliminal Messages.
Very good, Josh.
Excellent.
I'm so proud.
He's
of him.
45 years old.
I've been real talk though. I literally sat like at work, like while I was working.
You didn't know
and
he's
I would
45?
say- and I would wait, what? And I was saying that word over and over again because I was like, "Fuck!" Like we're gonna have to say that a lot on this episode, and I struggle like super hard with that word.
You what?
Struggle super
I thought
hard.
you said it. I didn't know if you actually said that or if I heard it.
And so like I was like, I can't even fucking do it when I'm on the spot.
Subliminal.
So you just butchered that.
Subliminal.
Subliminal. See, I can do that, but it's the all at the end that like it makes my brain
Subliminal.
what?
We've been saying it right the whole time, Josh. I don't know what's going on here.
Subliminal.
Okay, we need to move on.
And for audio listeners, we apologize. We are very sick with allergies, so you'll probably hear that in our voices.
Texas
And
is like an asshole right
we'll
now.
We'll probably be coughing our tits out for the next 30 minutes. But yeah, we got some medicine.
Yeah. Venison
waiting
coursing through
waiting
our
for
blood.
that shit to kick in.
Yeah.
Oh, mine's been kicking.
So what?
So we drew subliminal messages last episode. That is what Elvira is holding at the moment. My story is, I'm going last today because I have the bone. Okay. Jesus Christ. I'll be going last.
Yeah.
I have a story about a guy that finds a old school game at a flea market, and somewhere buried within there is a message that he doesn't immediately catch, and it makes him do some things.
Oh, okay. Mine is also about a game. It's about an arcade game that made its debut only in Portland, Oregon, back in 1981. And yeah, it's about what that arcade game was like causing people, like, and stuff. That was your stomach?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I heard that.
Oh, it was my esophagus.
Esophagus.
So my story involves a court case with the popular metal band Judas Priest.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is a good story. I like that story. Yeah, this is good.
Basically, two suicides that
Yeah, it was
that
like
led to a whole controversy of.
Yeah.
It originally started with Ozzy Osbourne, and but Judas Priest's case really like took it to the next level of like court hearings and shit.
And I mean,
about
this
it.
kind of like this case, if I remember correctly, was the case that really started like parents and well anybody that does something wrong. Like it really started
To
like
blame it on
them blaming
music.
it on music.
Yeah. the whole satanic panic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
But yeah.
Wow.
I guess I'll get into it. If you will light the ceremonial candle, sir.
I had it.
I
had it.
literally just saw it
oh
in
my
your hand,
God.
Josh.
Where did it go? I literally just had it.
Do, 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 do.
Oh,
Josh is
it's
currently
on my
looking,
crotch.
He's looking for the lighter. He found the lighter in his crotch. He's going to light the candle now.
Snoop Dogg would be proud.
What an excellent lighting of the candle.
Look at that. Look at how slowly
And
the wick
I
is
also
burning.
have the alleged piece of music from Judas Priest that caused this incident. But it's okay for us to play it because it's in reverse.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh shit.
I don't think I've ever heard that. I've always wanted to hear it. I'm excited.
You sit back and enjoy. Drink, drugs, and backwards masking. What happened when Judas Priests were taken to court accused of placing subliminal messages in their music? In 1990, metal faced a big crisis, one that could have changed the nature of the music as we know it now. Worded weirdly. It all centered on a court case featuring Judas Priest, who were sued over the actions of two fans 5 years previously on December 23rd, 1985. 20-year-old James Vance and 18-year-old Raymond Belknap, who lived in Sparks, Nevada, went to a playground in a local church and shot themselves at point-blank range with a shotgun. Belknap died instantly, while Vance survived for a further 3 years before dying from the complications brought on by his injuries. Yes, it was tragic, but what had it to do with the priest? Well, the two teenagers were said to have been listening to Priest records earlier that day while drinking heavily and smoking marijuana.
The devil's lettuce.
And it was this combination that eventually led to their suicide pact. The two families subsequently alleged that Priest has placed subliminal messages in several places on the 1978 Stained Class album, inciting fans, specifically this pair, to kill themselves. Some of these were inserted using backwards masking. This was said to have been most obvious in the song Better By You, Better Than Me, where hidden messages told fans, "Let's be dead and do it." That's the big, thing that people say they can hear is "do it" a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And these incitements claimed that the lawyers acting on behalf of the families were directly responsible for the deaths. Both the band and record label CBS were named in a civil case, which went to trial at the Washoe County District Court on July 16, 1990. Eventually, the case against Priest and their label was dismissed, but had the verdict gone the other way, it could have opened the portals for a raft of such cases, and would probably have led to the banning of considerable number of metal albums and songs. This ban could have even reached the point where metal bands weren't being signed and might have faced problems in playing live. The ramifications may have been so far-reaching as to have driven the music almost to the point of extinction. At the time, Priest guitarist Glenn Tipton said, "It's a fact that you played speech backwards. Some of it will seem to make sense. So I asked permission to go into a studio and find some perfectly innocent phonetic flukes. The lawyers didn't want to do it, but I insisted. We bought a copy of Stained Class album in a local record shop, went to the studio, recorded it to tape, turned it over, and played it backwards. Right away, we found 'Hey Mom, my chair's broken,' and 'Give me a peppermint.' and help me keep a job. It was like Disney World. Rob Halford commented on the trial. We had no idea what a subliminal message was. It was just a combination of some weird guitar sounds and the way I exhaled between lyrics. I had to sing Better by You, Better Than Me in court, a cappella. I think that was when the judge thought, what am I doing here? No band goes out of its way to kill its fans. It tore us up emotionally hearing someone say to the judge and the cameras that this is a band that creates music that kills young people. We accept that some people don't like heavy metal, but we can't let them convince us that it's negative and destructive. Heavy metal is a friend that gives people great pleasure and enjoyment and helps them through hard times. In the end, the judge actually did agree that there were subliminal messages, but these were only discernible after their location had been identified and after the sounds were isolated and amplified. The sounds would not be consciously discernible to the ordinary listener under normal listening conditions. Now, all these years later, the whole area of subliminal and backwards messages gives a lot less concern when it comes to possible legal threats. But for a short while in that Reno courthouse, things looked very troubled for our world.
Good job, dude. That was really good. You did a good job on that.
I'd known of the court case. I didn't know that it went that far.
Oh,
I didn't
dude,
know
yeah,
that.
it was like a whole thing. And I think what's his name ended up. He's like defended other bands and
Yeah.
stuff
Halford?
too.
Yeah.
He's literally gone and like defended like
Rob
Marilyn
Halford's
Manson.
the fucking grandpa of metal.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, no, here is, I already forgot the name of the song.
For me, oh god, it's not like you said it three times.
Better by You, Better Than Me.
I forgot that
reversed.
was the song, and I was like,
See, I've listened to this already today, and there's nothing discernible.
This is backwards, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
It has a fade out, so it's gonna fade in.
Okay. Entirety of the song, or are we looking for one spot?
We'll just
Okay.
play like a minute of it.
"This is a bop, dude." Sounds like he's saying, "So get off my back, get off my back." Like, all right.
This is
It sounds
wild
like
that
so-
can be ever used in court.
So
That is-
I did hear just now stick you in the ass or something like that.
That's what I heard, but to me it sounded like so.
No,
get
it was
off my
before
back.
that. It was, yeah.
And then I heard like snake
Or stick it up your ass.
Snake, I want to wear your sneakers.
I couldn't even pick up any of that.
I think what it is.
It's all imagination.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is. It's
Yeah.
phonetic sounds that
Yeah, your brain just pieces it together.
It's kind of like how we were interpreting what the
spirit box stuff.
spirit box was saying.
Yeah,
Because
because like when you're in a mindset that it's bad, you're gonna hear bad. Your brain's gonna create
Yeah.
what it needs to create.
It's just wild to me that they made him sing it. It's so
for
dumb.
OG podcast fans, if you saw the episode where we did the spirit box, was that during the episode or was that
It was
during
during stream.
Okay, so if you if you were
Yeah, if you're a
really
fan,
if you were really a fan and you were here for that stream, we actually did the spirit box wrong. We were supposed to do it in reverse because if it's going in forward, you're obviously going to pick up words that are being broadcasted,
Oh.
and which it makes a lot more sense now.
Well, next time we'll do it in reverse. Forward, reverse.
But yeah, but like, same argument there. Like we picked out things that we could hear in that, and that was a full-fledged song for
Yeah.
a minute and a half. And so we're bound to hear broadcast stuff in reverse and think it's saying something.
Yeah.
But according to paranormal searchers, the proper way to do a spirit box is in reverse.
We'll have to
So
do it.
we'll definitely do another spirit box session pretty soon.
All
But
right.
I think we should do it at a location
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
a little more active.
I agree. Like, we should definitely do it on like a known like location that has activity. So, before I get into my story, I did a bunch of like diving into like actual like subliminal messaging and found a bunch of different incidences that are real. Like this really happened. With subliminal messaging, it's not necessarily what's scary to me about
I think all of our stories
I'm doing
are
good,
real.
right? I'm saying subliminal.
Oh, your story's not real? Sorry.
Well,
I'm
it's on no
saying the
sleep.
word, and I was doing good, and y'all didn't notice. Subliminal. Fuck.
you did it right. You did it right. Subliminals.
Just say sub messages.
Yeah. So the thing with sub messages, what's scary about it is how, like, you can control people with that shit. Like one incident was in like some movie theater back in like the 80s or 90s. I think it was the early 90s. They would flash like a Snickers bar, or they would flash like popcorn, and it's so fast that you can't, like, your brain doesn't register that it happened. Well, it registers that it happened, but you don't notice it.
No.
And then within 30 minutes of the movie of them doing that, most of the people got up and fucking bought a Snickers bar. Like, do you see how like that, like that can control?
Yeah.
Like, that's bad.
I mean,
that's scary.
There's I'll interject for a quick second because there's
card
the
trick.
card
Yeah.
trick that I think I talked about either on podcast
Yeah.
or whatever. But
Yeah.
they basically ruffle down a set of cards, and I have one pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm ruffling through, it'll skip a beat, and
Yeah.
you can see one card for one card space longer than all the rest.
Yeah. So it sticks out
You
to you.
stick it out, and it's just for a millisecond longer.
It's called
than-
a forced
yeah, it's
draw.
a force.
yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's applicable everywhere, even in
Even back in
Like that.
1978 in Wichita, Kansas, a television station, KAKE TV, received special permission from the police to place a subliminal message in a report on the BTK killer, which stands for bind, torture, kill, if you didn't know. In an effort to get him to turn himself in, they literally were doing it to try and make him, because they knew that he would watch, because he
That was
he
his
liked
thing.
the basically the messages would flash on the screen, and one was "now call the chief," and another one was a pair of glasses that he had left. Sorry, do I need to get closer? Another one was a pair of glasses that he had left, like at a scene. It was with Nancy Fox, which was one of his murder victims. He left a pair of glasses lying face down, and I don't know if it was them trying to say, like, we have something that has like your DNA or fingerprints on it. I mean, I don't think that DNA was around back then. right?
not in this how we know it today.
Yeah.
No.
It was unsuccessful.
They knew what it was. But
Like-
they were like, I don't know about this.
Yeah. And then, so during the 2000 U.S. presidential campaign, there was a television ad for Republican candidate George W. Bush that showed words and parts thereof scaling from the foreground to the background on the television screen. When the word bureaucrat flashed on the screen, one framed only showed the last part, rats. Like he was trying to like make, which is interesting. And yeah, those were like some of the main ones that I wanted to talk about. But so my story is about a arcade game called Polybius. It's Polybius.
Is it Polybius? possibly?
Polybius. That sounds right. Yeah, and it was an arcade game that only showed up in Portland, Oregon, in 1981, and here's why. In Portland, Oregon, in 1981, an unheard of new arcade game appeared in several suburbs, something of a rarity at the time. This game was called Polybius. The game proved to be incredibly popular to the point of addiction, and queues formed around the machine, quickly followed by clusters of visits from men in black. Rather than the usual marketing data collected by company visitors to arcade machines, they collected some unknown data allegedly testing responses to the psychoactive machines themselves. The players themselves suffered from a series of unpleasant side effects: amnesia, insomnia, nightmares, night terrors, and suicide appearing as having been caused by the game in various versions of this legend. Some players stopped playing video games, while it is reported that one became an anti-gaming activist after playing this game. Polybius is an urban legend about a rare so that's like the actual information. This is like basically like talking about like that's the urban legend. This is basically talking about like the actual information. So Polybius is an urban legend about a rare arcade game released in 1991. The game was created by a mysterious company called Sense Deletion. It's actually a German company, but I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. And was a puzzle shoot 'em up, somewhat like Tempest.
Yeah.
Want me to try to pronounce it?
We'll try it after because I want to do it too.
I want to try it.
It was only released in a few suburbs in Portland, Oregon. It was supposedly very popular, with people forming long lines to play it. However, players reported strange things about the game, such as hearing a woman crying and seeing grotesque faces come out of the corner of their eyes. Yeah. Players would also have nightmares, experience nausea, headaches, blackouts, and or develop amnesia. And there were even some that committed suicide. Others stopped playing games. Others stopped playing games altogether. There was a person that played the game and became an anti-gaming activist because of it. According to one of the owners of the arcade, he did have men in black wearing suits come in and often collect the records of the game to make the game better. Mm-hmm.
Records of the game.
They would literally
So
take the data of the game. Yeah, and that's what they called it, records of the game, which is tip of the time, I guess. They did not take any money. They only wanted the data on the gameplay itself. Because of this, the leading theory is that it was some sort of government experiment using subliminal messaging. The game remains in obscurity as around 1 month after it was released, all of the cabinets suddenly disappeared. One cabinet reappeared in an arcade in 1998, but quickly disappeared again once word got out that it was there. While some have tried to recreate the game, no one has ever found the original ROM of the game. And yeah. Oh, and you can download what, like, basically people have tried to recreate the game. You can download that game on like the website for it. It's basically whatever this German word is .com.
Yeah.
You see it?
You want to see it? Okay.
Good story though. I didn't know that was I've never heard of that.
It's right there. I put it in red. Yeah, it's a real thing.
Sinnesflossen.
Jesus Christ! Immediately aggressive.
I mean, German is a very...
Sinnesflossen.
Let's see. Okay, so the O is an oo because it's
Slinu.
Yeah.
Slinu. Slinu-slossen.
You're pretty close. Sinnesflossen.
Sinnesflossen.
Shin.
I forget that you know, like, you know a lot of German. I didn't think about that. I should have asked you before I did this. But yeah, so...
I just know how to do a pretty good Hitler accent.
Oh my goodness. Cut that. Yeah, yeah, it's just...
That's my boy. Alrighty.
This is a good story, Josh. I do like that we picked video games.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
the main
It's
thing.
like, yeah, totally.
Also, I don't like how much we touch on government conspiracy back on it again because it's something they'd for sure do. Like,
I didn't even think about it. Maybe that's a subliminal message in itself. Whenever I was doing the Men in Black, now it's consumed my life.
I'm surprised none of us did Disney.
I
Yeah,
thought
Disney's
I
got a
was
couple.
going to do Disney, but a lot of it is dicks and stuff,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's more funny than
Yeah.
scary. So like,
And
there's a lot of dicks in Disney.
Yeah, I thought.
it's not funny anymore. When you're a child, it's funny, but when you're
Yeah,
there was
when you're
a
an
lot.
adult, it's just
It's
predatory.
fucked up.
yeah, when you're an adult knowing what's
Super
being shown
fucked
to a
up.
child. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like sexual stuff that they put in.
Dick
their
on the
movies.
mermaid box.
Dick on the mermaid box. Dick on the priest that marries Ursula and the prince.
Dick in the clouds when Simba lays
no,
down.
it says sex.
Oh, sex in the clouds.
Yeah, An Aladdin genie whispers, "Take off your clothes."
My God.
This is
I
interesting.
wanna-
I've never looked into that.
I want to see Robin Williams' take of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, it's not his voice.
Yeah, I know.
But it kind of sounds like him, but it's not him. But yeah, there's a lot.
Or it could have been like him behind the scenes, and they were
Yeah,
like
just being like
hey,
a
slip
weirdo.
this audio because he was a pretty vulgar comedian.
Yeah, and I mean, like there was even like that one show with the mice, where they're like
The Three Blind Mice.
no, like the
Ratatouille.
Stuart Little.
no, they're like no, it's like older, it's way older, but there's literally a part where they're like on like a little thing and there's windows, and literally if you freeze one of the windows just has a naked woman just standing there like going like this. It's like a picture. It's not
Yeah.
even a drawing. It's literally
Oh, I know what you're
They
talking
just put
about
it-
now.
And it's interesting too because that was done on film back in the day, so they had to cut
like-
film together.
it was intentional.
Yeah, there's no way you didn't
Yeah.
you didn't slip a file in there. on
Whoops.
accident. You didn't like shift click all your files and accidentally put that one in there.
Whoops, eggs! They didn't put this 15 minutes of work in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we ready to get into the final story of the episode? So, again, this is a Reddit one. I'll have to get the name of the poster. But it is called, I found an old game called Akron. Now I need to warn everyone. I don't know what's going to happen to me after I post this. I'm barely in control most days. So I better try to get this all down. I won't disclose my name or location because if what I think is going to happen ends up happening, you'll know it was me. I just need to get my story out there. The whole thing started when I was at a flea market. I enjoy walking around places and flea markets, looking for what catches my eye, but usually I keep a lookout for old computer stuff.
Is that where you buy fleas?
I made that joke the other day. I'm a programmer, and I firmly believe in preservation of old hardware and software. The thing with computers is how much they can change in a short amount of time. I mean, think about the kind of computers we had in 2010 compared to the ones that we have now. And think about those compared to the ones that we had in 2000 compared to 1990, and so on and so on. The point is, stuffs like program operating systems get left in the dust with each leap of computing power. So what I like to do is preserve that, or at least what I can from the olden days. Specifically, I like to look for old video games that I can run on emulators or modern operating systems. So you can only imagine my delight when I found an old game that I have never heard of. It was packaged in a thick rectangular box similar to some floppy disk games like the original Doom. The cover art was depicted as a man dressed in a barbarian outfit, loincloth and all, holding an axe in one hand and a sword in the other. He stood at the front of a small boat, I think it's called the Bow, that was floating down a river and into the mouth of a large cave. The word Akron written across the top in big, bold red letters. Overall, a pretty metal cover. Akron spelt Acheron.
Damn. I was thinking Akron, Ohio.
Like Akron, or Akron, yeah. It actually helped me to know that, to be able to pronounce it. We'll get into it later. It explains what it is.
That'd be a cool song name. Akron.
I flipped it around to see the blurb on the back. It was something like, "You've come far, but now you've faced your greatest trial yet. You've decided to travel into the netherworld to face all the evils that plague mankind. With the weapons in hand, you sail your boat into the unknown. Prepare yourself for the journey on the river Akron." Skyrim. There were screenshots of sort on the back too. They showed what looked like first-person view, where the player character was holding a shield in one hand and a sword in the other, facing down some kind of monster. It was all done in vector graphics, like the old game Battlezone. I looked at the box for any kind of information on the publisher or release date, but there was nothing. I felt compelled to buy it out of a sense of curiosity. Maybe this is some truly obscure game, or maybe it was some kind of homebrewed project. Either way, if I could get this thing working on an emulator, then maybe I could share it with someone on the internet. There were a couple of communities with people like me, and I'm sure they would be thrilled by some obscure game that they probably didn't run on any modern systems. And I bought it for cheap. The guy running the stall didn't even seem to know it was there. I took it home, got my laptop out for emulating. I loaded up DOSBox. Since most old games I run on MS-DOS, this is a whole operating system that you use to emulate games. I hooked up my floppy disk reader and opened the Akron box. The game seemed to be only one floppy disk, which didn't bode well. Even old games like Doom required multiple floppy disks, so either this was a really short game or someone had lost the other disks in the set. But I put the disk into the reader anyway. I did all the necessary steps to get the game up and running, and it worked pretty well with DOSBox. I was soon on a loading screen. When the game was done loading, the face of a man rendered in vector graphics and had taken up the whole screen. The lines making up face were deep blue. He looked wrinkled and weathered. "Ah, so you finally arrived, hero," the man said in a wizened voice. "I commend you for your bravery. Go sail the river Akron and vanquish the evils that plague the world of man." Pretty generic stuff. The game was fairly simple. Before every level, there would be a little cutscene of your character sailing on a boat down a river, and then when the level started, you were in some kind of dungeon. You played in the first-person view, sword in one hand, shield in the other, and you walked through these dungeons killing monsters as you went. Occasionally, a monster would drop a better sword or shield, then you would equip it. It was like Diablo from a first-person view. The game was was admittedly very simple, but I played for a while. I was playing for 2 hours, and the end of the game was nowhere in sight. The game had a save anywhere feature, so I saved and logged off. I planned on continuing tomorrow. I wanted to make sure that the game would be finished before I uploaded the files anywhere. I didn't give the game much thought when I was at work, but when I came home, I had a strong desire to play Akron. I didn't have much work to do at home, so I got some snacks, drinks, and sat down on my computer to play. As I was playing and enjoying the dungeon crawling gameplay loop, something strange happened. I began to feel drowsy. I kept doing the thing where you slowly close your eyes, your head begins to nod off, and then you suddenly snap awake. I didn't realize my day at work had been so exhausting. I tried to fight it for a while, but then eventually passed out. When I awoke, I realized that my computer was still on and playing the game. It was now 10 p.m., which meant I had split for about 5 hours. Decided to save the game there and then go to bed. I opened the save slot menu and realized something. The game records what level you were on and how long you had been playing whenever you made a save. I had begun my mission when I was about level 12 with 2 hours of gameplay, and then almost immediately passed out. When I made the save, I saw I now had 7 hours of playtime, and I was now on level 35. This spooked me. Did I sleep play a game for 5 hours? I've heard of people doing some surprising things while sleepwalking, but I didn't have a history of sleepwalking, period. I decided to simply turn my computer off and go to bed. But as I tried to fall asleep, my mind was filled with thoughts of Akron. I couldn't explain why, but it felt as though I could play for just a little longer, and then I could finally beat it. Plus, the nap I had taken made it hard to feel tired. So I climbed back out of bed and started playing once again. I walked into work the next morning feeling exhausted. I'd stayed up all night playing the game, and I hadn't been able to fall asleep. I thought about calling in sick to get some sleep, but decided against it. The whole time while I was at work, I was thinking about Akron. The game wasn't anything special, but for some reason, so enticing. The best way I can think of how to explain how I felt was to say Akron was like a food. When it got down to it, was like fast food. When it got down to it, was it any good, really? Not really. But was it enjoyable? Absolutely. And then there was the way you could just get into a rhythm with it. Get in the dungeon, kill monsters, get loot, move on to the next dungeon, and so on. I guess that kind of cycle was the appeal of most dungeon crawler games. When I got home, the first thing I did was get Akron started. And I sat there, and I just played. Soon, I started to slip back into unconsciousness. I awoke hours later. It was now 5 a.m. Like before, the game was still being played. Looking back, I knew that should have been the moment that I had gotten rid of the game. I should have just chucked it in the trash and washed my hands of the whole thing, but a fog had settled over me. I remember feeling like I was on autopilot. Whenever I look back at that day, it feels like something else was in control of my body, like my consciousness was just along for the ride while my body went through the day. Internally, I was trying to figure out how I could sleep play this game for 12 hours, but my body was out of my control. Whatever was in control of me saved and then went about my normal morning routine. I got dressed and went downstairs to make coffee. Except when I walked into the kitchen, it was a total mess. My microwave had been ripped from the wall and was now disassembled on my kitchen table. It had been gutted of all its electronic parts and wiring. I remember walking over to the table, seeing that, along with the mess, there was a stack of notebook paper. Every page was filled with notes and diagrams. I remember seeing the words, blast radius, explosive yield. I'll need to finish this when I get back, I heard myself say, and then I got in my car and drove to work. But now I was completely panicking, but I couldn't say or do anything. I felt like I was riding in the backseat of my own mind, watching someone else go about my normal day. It was a terrifying feeling, not being in control of my own body. I couldn't do anything as whatever was controlling my body walked into my workplace, talking to all my friends and coworkers almost exactly how I would on an ordinary day. Whatever was controlling my body sat me down at my desk and started working on my latest project. Eventually, a coworker was walking by my desk and stopped to look at me. "Whoa, man, you look kind of dead," he said. "Did you get some sleep last night?" "Don't worry, I'm fine," I could hear myself say. "All right, I was just a little concerned," my coworker said, and he walked back off to his station. I wanted nothing more than to scream, to let him know I was not all right, that he needed to help me somehow. But I came up against this mental barrier that prevented me from doing anything. Was this it? Was this how I'm going to exist for the rest of my life? No, I had to fight it. I reached out and tried the simplest of actions, move one of my fingers. I focused solely on moving my pinky finger. My whole consciousness was devoted to making sure that this one action happened, and I focused on moving it. And then I was back in control of my whole body. It felt like I got drenched in cold water. I gasped as I began to process stimuli again. I looked down at my arms, moved them around just to make sure it was me who was doing it. I quickly gathered my things and got up to leave. As I walked past the front desk, I told the receptionist to tell my manager that I was feeling very sick and I needed to get home very quickly. It was time to get that game out of my life. I got into my car and drove back to my house as quickly as I could without getting arrested. When I got home, I immediately went to the back room and ripped Akron out of the disc reader. I walked into my kitchen and turned on the burner on my stove. I wasn't just going to throw this game away. I wanted this game gone for good. I went to lay the disc down on the flame, but something stopped me. Try as I might, I couldn't make myself place the game anywhere close to the flame. I strained with all the effort I could muster, but I couldn't do anything. Suddenly, my limbs began to move of their own accord. My legs moved in a janky pattern, and my arms kept the floppy disk at arm's length. "Stop this," I yelled at no one in particular, more to feel as though I could actually do something than anything else. I was forced to walk to my room. My computer was powered on and the disc reader was there. "No, I won't do it," I yelled, but I had no choice in the matter, as I was forced to sit in my chair and turn on the game. I was forced into that abyss of unconsciousness once again. But when I woke up, I was lying in bed. I got up quickly, remembering what had happened before I lost consciousness. I looked around. Nothing in the room looked different. The Akron disc was still in the reader. My phone was charged and on my desk, and I picked it up to see the date. July 9th, 1 week after I had lost consciousness. I sat down for a second. I now had a whole week unaccounted for. I checked the phone calls I had made, no calls from work, which meant that I hadn't missed a day. Whatever was in control of me kept up appearances. Suddenly I felt an overwhelming compulsion to check my closet. I decided to oblige this compulsion. I got up and opened my closet. Everything looked normal. None of my clothes were missing. All my pairs of shoes were lined up on the floor. Under the floor, I heard a voice in my head say. I moved some shoes out of the way and found a cord on the floor. I grabbed the cord and yanked it. A section of the floor was dislodged, revealing a secret compartment. A compartment I definitely didn't remember being there. I moved the panel aside and stumbled back in shock. Inside this compartment was an arsenal of weapons. Upon inspection, I found 2 handguns, I think they were Berettas, a taser, AR-15, and most worryingly of all, about a stock of 10 or so pipe bombs. I didn't own any of these before I had gone to sleep. Is this what I had been doing when I wasn't in control? I put the panel back in place and made my closet look like it did before. With everything in place, you would never be able to tell that the compartment was there. I sat down at my desk and looked at the disc. It had this terrible aura. Just looking at it made me feel a sense of dread. I had already tried getting rid of it before, but I knew that it wouldn't work. But maybe if I could find out why this game was doing this to me, Maybe if I can do something to stop it. I turned my computer on and opened up the game files. There were only 3. Opening scene, acreon.exe, and ending. It was obvious what opening scene was and what acreon.exe were, but as I moved my cursor over to the ending file, I heard a ringing in my ears, and then suddenly got a headache. But I didn't hit a barrier like I had when I tried to burn the disk. I clicked on the ending file. The file was apparently a video. It automatically went full screen when I clicked on it. The video started with a man sitting at his desk. I was surprised by how clear the image was, considering that it was on a floppy disk. A couple seconds of high-quality footage like this should have been more for this disk to handle. The guy at his desk looked like a bureaucrat. He had brown hair that was combed over, black-rimmed glasses, and a tweed suit. His face was expressionless. "Hello, player," the man said in a monotone voice. The audio was really clear, too. How could this disk handle all this data? "I hope you enjoyed your game," the man continued, "because now the real work begins. What you thought was a simple video game is, in actuality, a tool for liberation. You see, we have been well aware of how popular bootlegs of American products have been made on the other side of the Iron Curtain." Iron Curtain, I thought. Wasn't that a Cold War thing? "And we saw that this could be used to our advantage," the man continued. "The boys downstairs have created this game and put it on this special floppy disk with the intention to infiltrate the Soviet black market. If you are playing this, then you are now going to be used to serve a much greater purpose. You may have noticed gaps in memory, missing bits of time. You may have experienced moments where you were conscious but not in control of your actions. This has been caused by the game. While unconscious, you are subject to subliminal messages like this." Images began to flash on the screen. Diagrams of guns and their parts, first aid techniques, recipes for explosives. Even though they were only on screen for fractions of a second, I was somehow able to understand all of them. The information they contained began to flood my mind. Information about dozens of different guns and calibers, how to construct dozens of IEDs, and more horrible knowledge. The ringing in my ears got worse, much worse. My vision began to get blurry. "These images are meant to prepare you for an uprising. You are now properly prepared to overthrow your communist oppressors. You have been denied freedom for so long." The candle just fell out towards me. It scared me. "You have been denied freedom for so long, but now you will fight to make other men free," the man said. The ringing and headache were so unbearable. I stood up and started to hyperventilate. I could feel the familiar unconsciousness creeping up on me. "Godspeed, soldier," the man said, then the video cut off. I could still feel myself becoming drowsy. As terrified as I was, I realized I couldn't let this game take me. Who knows what I would do if I lost control to this thing. Through my blurry vision, I looked down at my desk, my hard, wooden desk. Screw it, I thought. I brought my head down on the corner of the desk as hard as I could and passed out. When I awoke, I was lying on my back on the floor of my room. I put my hand on my forehead, and it came back bloody. I gathered my strength and sat up, which brought a whole new level of pain to my head. I sat there, clutching my head, eventually managing to stand up. I've come up with a plan. It's not perfect, but it's the best I can do. I can't get rid of this game. Those subliminal messages must have used something of a conditioning to prevent me from doing anything to the disc. So I'm going to get rid of myself. If this game once was meant to turn me into some kind of revolutionary, then who knows how much damage I could do with the arsenal in the closet and no control over my actions. I'm going to get in my car and drive out into the country, get myself far away from any population centers or weapons. Then I'm burning out my car and destroying my phone. I don't want anyone to find me, and if I do end up losing to my condition, then I'm going to make it as difficult as I can to get back to anywhere where I can do serious damage. Which brings me to why I'm writing this. I'm trying to warn you all about Akron. I can't get rid of it, but maybe one day someone reading this will be able to. I looked it up, by the way, what Akron meant. I thought it was just some fantasy word, but turns out it actually means something. In Greek mythology, Akron is the river of woe. that flows through the underworld. How fitting.
Dude, that's dope.
So that's what Putin's been doing all this time.
I think so. He's putting it in the video games.
So, like, it makes me, like, wonder about, like, shit like Skyrim and stuff. Because, like, okay, so before Skyrim, there was Oblivion. And I was obsessed with that game. I fucking lived, breathed that game. Like, I was, like, so, like, I totally got, like, going to
Not
work.
being able to put it out.
Yeah, you just have to fucking keep playing it. Like, that was, dude, subliminal messaging is terrifying to me.
Yeah.
I think that's
Different
a new
kind of
phobia.
scare.
Yeah, like how you can control people like that. And like apparently like your brain can like consume knowledge like that fast. Like
What I have trouble like grasping is how it managed to blank out his memory.
Yeah, just like
Like-
turn him off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like I could see like the subliminal messaging of like explaining how to make weapons and
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
this and like in that influencing someone
Yeah.
to like be like, oh shit, like I know how to do this already.
And I guess
But-
for those
But
of-
like losing
yeah.
weeks on end.
For those that aren't familiar with what No Sleep is on Reddit, we pull stories from there all the time. The whole premise of No Sleep is that it happened,
Yeah.
and you take it at face value. So that's what I do.
and I mean,
yeah.
like if you think about it, if they could flash images to teach you how to make weapons and stuff, like implanting like a sleeper cell kind of like mentality, like a trigger word and stuff, like dude, they could totally do that. Like
Execute Order 66.
yeah, dude. Dude, that's
That's what the coronavirus vaccine has done to all of us.
dang
It put our inhibitor chips in, and once the war starts, we're killing all the good world leaders.
Oh, dude, that's a conspiracy all in itself. Bro. Real talk though, like if you think about it, video games is the perfect way.
yeah.
You spend hours.
Trump is the
not
perfect
realize-
Palpatine too.
Like you spend hours not
Execute
realizing.
Order 66.
You spend.
So dumb.
Get your fucking.
Live from Trump Tower.
Oh Jesus. Okay, but you spend hours like playing a video
Yeah.
game, and if they're just flashing images every couple of seconds to where you don't like, you're not comprehending with everything moving around, like
Yeah.
that's fucking scary.
And I think my favorite part of it is how he got it, like the whole flea market thing, which means
Yeah.
it's somehow he didn't give time, location, name, or anything. We don't know any of that, but I'm assuming it's set in present time because some of the weapons
Yeah.
and stuff that were brought up
Yeah.
tells us that it is a more modern era. So that means
Yeah.
it somehow got lost in the Soviet Union,
And
made
then
its way
got-
to an American, I'm assuming, market.
Yeah, because everything you said was like 70s and up.
Said
Yeah.
modern. Yeah, it felt modern.
Yeah.
So yeah, it somehow made its way here, and then this one guy was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you
Cool
got a
video
box
game.
and just
But-
had it in there. Yeah.
But the thing that's weird about it is that it could be new because it's a floppy disk with all that information. They don't work like that.
Yeah,
They don't work
that's-
like they.
And it makes sense because Russia only has Soviet era weapons right now.
yeah.
Like
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how.
It's a
all
story
that
I'm
works.
probably going to go back and read.
Yeah,
Or
It's an
whatever.
interesting one.
It didn't say Russia, but I'm assuming
there's another
Maybe.
story.
I'm assuming we're talking about Russia here.
There's another story.
We
that
know for sure that the
has-
disc was made. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. We know for sure. I know I have to get it out. The disc was made in America, sent to Russia,
Yeah.
so that okay, just
Yeah,
making sure we're all.
so like that's what you're saying is since they're behind, kind of, it would make sense for them to get the floppy disk and be like, oh, okay, and then play
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I get you.
Because that Russians refuse to use new technology. I don't know why.
Maybe not Russians, but the Russian government.
The Russian
Might-
military.
Yeah, might be the better
Yeah,
term.
Russian,
there.
like they do have.
I also don't know anything.
They do have new technology in their military, but what they're using in the current war is all Soviet era weaponry.
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
There was another video game story that I just remembered that I read a long time ago, and it was about like some like cursed like Pokemon game, and apparently like it was like Pokemon Black. It was a
Oh, no.
black cartridge Like, and apparently, like they found it at a like kind of like a flea market setting. Like they were like, "What is like this is dope?" And you know, it was when Pokemon was all the rage or whatever. And apparently, it was like a cursed game that like you would die if you played it.
Kind of like Sonic.exe.
Yeah.
That whole story. Yeah. Interesting.
I don't know.
That is on No Sleep, and it is by user Sourbot, either Sourbot or Sowerbot.
Oh, my story was also a creepypasta. It was on creepypasta.
They will be linked.
Mine was several news articles I pasted together. Because that shit was everywhere.
For show.
Yeah.
But you guys ready to draw? I guess
Oh, yeah.
Draw
is it
what?
My turn.
Oh, we're drawing pictures?
Yeah.
It is your
I'm going
turn.
to draw a picture.
I had something scary happen.
Yeah, you got something
Oh, yeah.
scary?
Yeah,
Does this work?
Yeah, it doesn't work. Like, so we take pictures of vehicles all day, and the vehicles sit out in the hot sun. So when I open the hot door and let all the hot air out, I like to let it air out, like roll the windows down. And I was parked in like the lot, so there's vehicles all around me.
Yeah.
And I had, I think, AirPods in, and I was just like listening to music or whatever. And I was just sitting there like on my phone, and then I guess you had either snuck up or just walked up, and I was just oblivious.
Yeah, so
And he just yelled at me, and I had a heart attack. Yeah.
I saw him open the door about probably 30 feet behind, and so I scuttled real quietly up to it because I couldn't tell if he had
So
his
it's
AirPods in.
preemptive.
Yeah, it was very preemptive.
Shit.
Because I can tell, like, the angle that I was coming, there are no, like, rearview mirrors that you can see this angle. And so, yeah, I took advantage of it.
Yeah. He got me good. I was scared. That's all I had. I haven't had any actual spooks.
I can't remember what I yelled.
I don't know.
Did you have any spooks?
It might have been a racial slur. I don't know.
Possibly. I don't think he would.
Don't do this. Did you have any spooks?
Nah.
No. Oh, thank you for giving me a boner.
Yeah.
Or the boner.
We never explain that for audio listeners. There's a bone.
It's a deer
and
bone. It's a deer antler.
That helps us know who is going to tell the last story for the next episode. I just handed it to
And I'm a child, so like I saw bone and I was like, boner.
Do people listen to us? Like listen, or they just watch?
Yeah, no, we've got
Poor souls.
we usually sit at about 25, 30 plays on every episode.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you already draw?
I drew Attic.
Oh,
That's
okay.
gonna be a
Shit,
fun
we
episode.
finally let Razan out.
Yeah, that's a big
Christ.
inside joke. Nobody knows that.
But yeah, so addicts. Any kind of what do you always say? Like,
Okay, so you that freaked me out. You handed it to me like that, and I let go, and it felt like something pulled it. I was like, that's not good.
Not gonna lie, my childhood home growing up, I was terrified of my attic.
oh really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh shit.
It was
Dude,
just something about because it was
don't tell us.
no.
Small enough to not make a story.
Yeah,
Okay.
nah,
I got something
have any.
similar.
I don't have any stories, but it was just a opening in the ceiling, no ladder or anything.
What the
to get
fuck?
to it.
Oh yeah, I would be
So
terrified
you would have
of
to
that,
get
too.
a ladder
Yeah.
to get into it.
That's it for episode 35 of Dead Reflections Podcast. We like to shout out our friends in Dark Hour Podcast. We encourage y'all to give them a listen and check them out.
Follow us at Dead Reflections Podcast on all social medias, or follow the link tree to find our socials. Spotify, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the video version of this podcast on YouTube. Email us at deadreflectionspod@gmail.com to submit your stories. Let us know how we're doing, or to let us know if we should put some subliminal messages in one of our new songs. Be sure to follow our band at FWTX everywhere.
Please leave a rating or review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It puts us in a more horror podcast playlist and helps us find new people to listen to our creepy stories. Thank you for all your continued support, and remember, tell your family, tell your friends, and tell the monsters under your bed.
God, so scuffed.
Tell your family, tell your friends, and tell the monsters under your bed to listen to Dead Reflections Podcast. Have a spoopy night.